Hi! Today we're making the most delicious, infamous cornbread dressing using my grandmother, my very southern grandmother's recipe. Let's get into it. I start my dressing by making cornbread. I've made cornbread from cornmeal, but you can make it from Jiffy, and that's your business. But I prefer to make my cornbread with cornmeal and flour, 2 eggs, milk, and just all the things that go into cornbread. And that also includes 1/4 cup of a vegetable oil or an olive oil. I don't add salt or sugar to mine. Next, I saute the finely cut bell pepper, onion, and celery in a butter till it's brown and softened. While that sauteed mixture is cooking, I'm pouring in cream of chicken in a separate pot. And then I'm taking the cream of chicken can, pouring in chicken broth into that can, and then pouring that into that mixture. I want to make sure we get an equal amount. Then I'm going to turn the heat on low and let that simmer and get warm. From there, I'm going to make sure that stirring throughout to ensure that all of it melds together, if that's the best way to say it. This step is important to the process because it makes it easier. You don't want just cold cream of chicken being poured in and then the chicken broth. That's just a lot. If you mix them together, it's a little bit easier. When this mixture comes to a boil, turn it off. It's ready to go. Just let it sit to the side. Now, let's break up the cornbread in the pan that we're actually going to be putting in the oven. I'm using a casserole dish. It's a good size, and it's a great place to mix so you don't have too many dishes. So from there, I'm going to pour in the broth little by little. Once the cornbread is sufficiently wet, then I'm pouring in the Stovetop chicken stuffing mixture. Mixing that in with the sauteed green peppers, onions, and celery. And then I'm going to stir all that up. Then you'll continue to take a cup of plain chicken broth and slowly put that in. Now, this doesn't need to be heated, but you're going to pour a little by little. You don't want this mix to become soupy, but it needs to be almost a little above a stew type of wetness. Now we season. Shockingly enough, unlike all my other recipes, I'm only going to add 3 seasonings: garlic powder, onion powder, and sage that I'm going to mix. Now, you mix this to taste and you add seasoning as you go along with this recipe. In my recipe, I will make sure that you see in the description box the entire recipe with the appropriate measurements so you'll know what it should taste like. Last, but definitely not least, you need to melt a 1/2 stick of butter and pour that into this mixture and stir it all up. Then you want to even this out across the entire casserole dish. Pop in the oven for 30 to 45 minutes on that 350 degrees or until brown. Watch this because not every oven is built the same. So that 350 degrees may actually be a different degree in your oven. So watch this. You'll know it's done when you stick like a fork or a knife into it and it's a little wet, but not too wet. You don't want a dry mixture, but you also don't want it to be completely unmelded and not completely cooked through. But keep in mind, everything in this dish has already been cooked. It's actually already done. This is you just getting this mixture all to be in one kind of solid position. Here's the finished product. Now mine is darker and has crust around it. I personally love that, and that's my preference. I would recommend you guys just let it cook and test it out and test it as it cooks when you're first trying this out, just to see what you prefer, what your consistency is. Understand that it's not going to be 100% solid when you take it out the oven. It gets solid when it sits out or when it goes in the fridge. It'll come back as more of a solid piece that you'll put in the microwave later. Okay, let's talk dressing. So this is the next day. I have reheated it and it's moist. And we're gonna talk about the things I did not add that my grandmother adds. Bacon drippings is one of her number one things. She was like, put that in there. Don't you have some on the stove? I don't have bacon drippings on the stove at all. But my grandma's like, people have that at their house. That's what you put in the dressing. So you can put bacon drippings or drippings from chicken or Cornish hen or turkeys or something like that. She wants to put in dressing instead of the butter necessarily, or in addition to the butter. But I personally didn't have any of those things in my house and did not want to. I just wanted to make this a little bit as simple as possible, because this recipe can be a lot for some people. But there's so many different things you could do. You could make this a vegan recipe. I did like some research on how to get the chicken broth and the cream of chicken substitute, so you could totally make this a vegan recipe. You could totally just, you know, make so many different changes or additions to it as far as flavor. But I wanted to keep it pretty simple because it's delicious just the way she makes it, and it's so simple. Now, if you're reheating it, let's chat about that. So I cooked mine a little bit longer because I wanted crusty type of ends. I kind of like the crusty ends, but you don't want to dry it out. So if you do reheat it and it may seem a little dry, most of the people in my family love gravy, so they just put gravy on theirs anyway, so that isn't help. I love cranberry sauce. So when I'm reheating, put a little bit of chicken broth, just a little bit, to just wet it, and then when I put it in the microwave, I cover it up. I have a microwave covering so my microwave stays clean. If you don't have one of those, just wet a paper towel, like wet it and put it over the dish so it'll steam it. You can do this also with spaghetti and pretty much anything, so it still is moist and doesn't dry out the food. So that's one of my like tips. So definitely try this recipe. I hope you guys like it. It's so good to me. It's my favorite thing, obviously, so obviously it's good to me. I love to eat it with cranberry sauce. I'm a sugar lover though, and cranberry sauce to me is sweet. No, I do not make my own cranberry sauce. I buy the ocean spray, and that's what I eat. I could and I would, but I don't, because I'm not going to. I really don't even want to cook for Thanksgiving. I just want to eat. I do. I just want to eat, and we eat this at Christmas, Thanksgiving, any given Sunday dinner. Like, we love dressing, and it is the most popular thing in my family. You know, you go over someone's house and they be like, "Oh, we got some dressing." Be like, "Who made the dressing? Grandma?" Okay. So I'm very excited to share this with you guys. I hope you try it. Let me know if you like it. If you like this video, please like and share with your friends, and, you know, leave comments below for me. Let me know what you think of the recipe, if you've ever had cornbread dressing. Thank you guys so much for watching.